All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. Unto the Zionite foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. It's going to be a quick show, Lord willing. Your brothers are edified through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. I was watching a show, I believe it came out. I should have just looked it up too. Slakia. I'm going to get it real quick. The show's Rome. Alright. Came out 2005. So I seen the show years back. It's a good show. Mostly historically accurate, but with creative licenses. They will add certain things that wasn't part of history or was part of history, but they just changed certain things. So one of the main things, this is what inspired this show. So I was watching the show and a couple things popped up. There's a couple questions that popped up in my head, and I looked it up through the spirit. And one of the main questions, well, the show answered it. So when you look at the Roman Empire, well, at the time there was the Roman Republic. All right, the Roman Republic fell under Julius Caesar. All right. Julius Caesar was the cause of the fall of the Roman Republic. And then he started the Roman Empire. And he didn't really get to start nothing because they assassinated him. So that's not what it was. So I was watching the show and certain things pop up in my head through the spirit. Everything was spiritual. The question was, what was the Roman Empire's animal signet? So we know that we have the bald eagle, which that goes. This is Aquila. This is the most famous eagle, and there was another movie. I forgot the name of it, but it was based upon the Roman Empire. In the land of Britannia, which was Britain, and the barbarians, which barbarians is a term where they call somebody that came against the Roman Empire. So that was just a common nickname. So anybody that's not under the banner of Rome and seemingly not part of the Roman Empire itself, they were called by barbarians. All right, just like today's terminology for people that come against the United States or whatever, they would call them terrorists. All right, they would call them terrorists. So the same thing back then, they had nicknames. Everything that the United States of America and the EU nations do, they do the same thing as the Roman Empire itself. So I said that. So the main thing I was checking, and I'm just gonna go to it. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, let me go to the scripture. It says Daniel 2:40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. So what was so significant about iron in the fourth kingdom? The Roman Empire. The Roman Empire itself was vast. It was a vast kingdom. And what was it? The conquering tool was iron. And the way they form themselves, the flex, I believe it was the flax or the flux, the shield, and then you have the front line. They bear the shield, and the ones behind them will also bear the shield, but they will cover the front. They will cover themselves with the shields on top, shields in the bottom, and whenever the barbarians are throwing rocks or whatever, they being shielded, and they just ran over their enemies. I believe it's flanks, right? So whereas that source, the feet and toes are part of potter's clay, part of iron. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strong of iron, for as much as they sawest iron mixed with miry clay, which this entails the future. So the Roman Empire so this is a dream that Nebuchadnezzar saw. He saw a statue of a man. The head was gold. The torso, the arms and so forth was silver. The stomach was brass, and the legs were, I believe, iron. So the metals was going down, proving that each of these runic kingdom, the diversity of, or not the diversity, I'm saying, the metals were no longer precious, and iron was heavily used in the Roman Empire as well, and even to this day. All right, even to this day. But I didn't bring that out for that. It was the key thing is the fourth, and it's here it is in Daniel's 12th chapter, and this is the blue letter, and it even breaks it down which kingdom was which. So I think that was kind of dope. All right, that was kind of dope. So we're considering the fourth beast, or the fourth kingdom, right? Which we know is the Roman Empire. But it's something about the Roman Empire, which I'm gonna get it. Revelations. That's the one I want to get. Revelations 12. I saw that one. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her foot, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So the Catholic Church would tell you this is Mary and yada yada. No, this is talking about the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is considered to be a woman unto the Lord. All right. Jeremiah 6:2 comes in mind. All right. There's plenty of other scriptures. I just key points. So the sun and the moon represents wisdom and knowledge. That goes into Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, where the Lord said that the nations would go to us to know of the Lord. All right. So the Lord gave us the wisdom and knowledge. The 12 stars represent the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. So now we got a backstory behind that. As she being with child, and there's plenty of children in the nation of Israel. There's plenty of babies being born amongst us, but who is this child? This child's talking about Yahushua. Cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And heaven is a place, is a condition that is played out on earth. Heaven and hell is a condition that played out on earth. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. So when John saw this beast, it was very distinguished. Okay, it was very distinguished. So we know the dragon is the Roman Empire, Esau Edom, right? So I was like, why, we already know what it is, but was it any historical backing behind that? That was $1 million question. So now when I go to the thing, so we have the eagle as the number one sign of the Roman Empire, right? So when we go down, there's a lot more of them too. I probably gotta do a whole bunch of this. I find this kind of dope. So you go down to the sixth verse, the sixth thing. What do we see here? Dracon, Roman dragon. All right. So you want to do the so the Draco, which means dragon or serpent, was a military standard of the Roman cavalier. It was the standard of a cohort, whereas the Aquila eagle was the legions. The Draco was worn by horsemen like the Draconius the dragon bearer, while the bearer of the Aquila was called was a qualifier. Ancient Romans loved the dragon so much that every home in ancient Rome was full of imaging of these kindly beasts and their altars for Geno Laka singular. Let me see. Let me look this up because I don't want to butcher this. Slakia. Okay, so genius loci, meaning the translation in the classic Roman religion. Genius loci, plural, geno locorum, was the protective spirit of a place. She was identified with the Roman goddess Juno. See, I didn't even do that part. There's more to this. Wow. Where is it? It says right here the plural, multiple spirits of the single place, whereas the Geno Locorum refers to multiple spirits multiplying places. Their rare related single noun, Geno Locorum, reference to a single spirit having precedence or guardianship over multiple places. That is heavy. Oh yeah, sorry. She was identified as the Roman goddess Juno, whose portrait as being in the company of Genius Loci. All right, let me see. Let me do another real quick. Okay, it says dictionary interior demono or demon. History of the ancient Greek desposia of God protective spirit. Noun demono, if I'm saying it right. Genitive demonos or genius loci. The protective spirit or godling of a place or a household. Astrology, the 11th and the 12th sign. So we have an idea. So the Romans heavily worship dragons. All right. Also, the Greeks. So when John saw this, think about that. So when he saw this vision, which is gonna say more, it says this: the ancient Romans loved the dragon so much that Every home in ancient Rome was full of the imagery of these kindly beasts in their altars of the genealogy. So that was the protective spirit, right? Or the spirits protecting the place in the classical Roman religion. And the genealogy was commonly depicted as figuratively holding a cornucopia or patriarch or dragon serpent. Let me look this one up. This cornucopia, symbol of plenty, consisting of goat's horn, overflowing with flowers, fruit, corn. See, of goat's horn. Now, when you watch the TV show, these mother effers had they had plenty of different gods. All right, there was what's that word? Paleo. Slacking. I didn't. There's a term for it of worshiping many gods. That's what they would worship many gods. If I'm not mistaken, Juno was the Greek equivalent of Aphrodite, if I'm not mistaken, the goddess of love. Also, Julius Caesar, which the world knows as Julius Caesar, he claimed to be his mother to be Venus. So his house, Julii, was the house of Venus. So each household had a goddess or a god. It says the Draco or the Roman dragon was often depicted as having a festive personality with a warrior dignity and nobility. Roman cohorts and cavaliers' wings adopted the dragon head insignia. It is served as a military banner carried in a pole with a woodstock by the Draconian battle. The Draconio emitted a serpent-like hiss as it swung, created to distinguish the Roman cavalier in units. The Draconian symbol denotes honor during cavalier parades and the Roman Draconian was made extra colorful as added spectacle. So the Romans had the animal symbol of a dragon with the cavaliers. Cavaliers is the people that ride the horse. So coming as swift. And also the other thing too, before I move on. So the red cloak that they wear was actually, that was the Roman standard for their military their military uniform. And that crimson, I looked it up too, that crimson color was a psychological thing when they go to war, because it represented it was a crimson red color which represent blood. So it was supposed to be like a psychological thing towards the enemy. Because there was a scene in the show when the guy who played Mark Anthony came to the senators at the time, and they said because he just became I forgot the name. There was not tribute. Something like he had a standard in the Senate that Caesar gave unto him, so he became like more powerful. So the Senate had to hit him. But when he came, the first time he came with that red signet, and he was like, "Why you have that bloody thing on you? Like you get ready for war?" And then because that was, it was a lot of politics. There was a lot of politics back then. So he was shown, basically, he was putting fear into them. Like, look, at the end of the day, I'm a general and also a killer. So, but they use that as a symbol for war. So everything, the scriptures, it brings the scriptures more alive. So now we have an idea like, okay, why John called it a great dragon? Because they literally use a dragon as a symbol to put fear in people. And when they wear that red cloak or whatever, that was another form. Okay. And we know that the seven heads is talking about um, the Greeks, Rome, Germania Minor, Major, France, Spain, and Britain. And all these places was the surrounding area of the Mediterranean. Okay, let me see, get the Roman Empire. Yeah, this is better off. So all the major seaports in the Med that's what the Romans ran. They ruled the known world. Okay, they knew the known world literally. This is all of them. All right, even Jerusalem was being occupied by them. And if you do the history, the Greeks was constantly going to war. And even in the time of the Sixth Syrian War, this is before Esau took over in Rome, but they was in the background, and they the ones that had gave first Antiochus III. He had to pay a heavy dowry to them because there was ruined. That Syrian war ruined the Romans' trade routes, and this is the Roman Republic, not the Roman Empire. All right, this is all prior. And then when later down the next line, when Antiochus came into power, they gave him the ultimatum of the circle, and you got to make your decision. So Rome always been around. The Roman Republic always been around. But when it became the Roman Empire, after Julius Caesar, and then Augustus, Tiberius, I believe it was Caligula, Claudius, Nero, then you had the year of the four emperors and so forth. That was the Roman Empire. Let's see. Where was I? And it says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the 7 crowns upon his heads. So those 10 horns now, those also, I believe it's only 3 more. What do you call Luxembourg? There's another the old names for it. I forgot how you say them. But there's 3 more other nations that was a part of that. And it says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. And who's the third part of the stars of the heavens? Or of heaven? Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Because Judah, Benjamin, Levi was there in the time when the Romans occupied Jerusalem. And their whole thing was what? You could keep your religion, but there was a heavy tax. All right, it was a heavy tax. Let me see. Let me see if I forget anything. Oh, yeah. It says, and did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to deliver, to devour her child as soon as it was born. And that goes into Matthew's the 2nd chapter. Let me see if I can get this real quick. Matthew's 2:1. Now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem in Judea, in the days of Herod the king. Now Herod, the whole Herodian dynasty, they were Edomites, and he was backed by the Roman Empire. When you do the history, Herod was backed by the Roman Empire. This is how he became he was a vassal. He was a vassal for the Roman Empire. When they made him king, they gave him an army and so forth. So nobody can legitimately withstand him. And he married into what was the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, to solidify the rulership, because the Hasmonean dynasty goes back to the Maccabees, that was established as the royal family. So his backing was by the Roman Empire. It says, "Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem." All right, and it says, saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in east, and come to worship him." When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. What I mean by all Jerusalem, those puppets that was in power, because they was well fed off. All right, there were Israelites that was well fed off. They was in a position of power. They didn't want. They feared to lose that power, which tells you in what St. John, when it was Caiaphas that said it. He said that one man should die for the nation, because they knew the Lord was the Lord, but they didn't want to give up that power. All right, show how corrupt our people was. But this is Herod the Great, the first. It says, when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, and demanded of them where Yahushua should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem in Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, art not the least among the priests, the princes of Judea, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, also another thing, gotta bring that up. When the Romans were occupying Jerusalem, it wasn't they just came in and they just sat there and took over. It was a lot of resistance. Because our people are what considered to be stubborn. All right, we was not easily fooled. That's why you had groups like the Sicarii, the Zealots, and so forth. So he knew he had a problem in his hand from the jump, because if they find out there's a king from the bloodline of David, he would have lost all credibility, and he would have been out of, even though he have the backing of the Romans, he know the history of Israel and how Israel is. So he had to try to, you know what, I'm going to make sure that this will never happen. It says, then Herod, when he was privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when you find him, bring me word again, and that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. So that was not a star, that was a chariot. All right, the chariot moved and showed them where the Lord was at. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Also, the wise men wasn't three, and they were Israelites, because they knew about the prophecies. There's another thing. Also, another thing, that 3 years, 3 years, 3 times a year, all Israelites was required to come back to the Holy Land. Period. Just want to put that out there. So this obviously was the time of the Passover when the Lord was born. It says, and when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they opened their treasures, they present unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And that's why this is where they come with the idea with the 3 wise men, because with the gifts that they gave, but it doesn't say how many of them was there. And being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word from Herod. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother, and by night, and departed into Egypt. And they didn't, as soon as the Lord was born, they didn't just move the child. It took a period of time. All right, it did take a period of time, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked, because they never came back, of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem. So this is what John saw. What John saw, he saw the children of Israel, right? And he saw that the dragon, which is the Roman Empire, all right, that what they tell, took down the Judah, Benjamin, Levi, who was there, because it was being heavily occupied or oppressed by the Roman Empire, and that it was waiting to devour the man-child, which was Yahushua. Okay, so it was like a history lesson that was moving forward. It says, and in all the courses thereof for 2 years old and under. So that gives you the time of how long the wise man left, never came back, and so he was highly upset. All right, he was moved in anger because he felt like he was being mocked, but he was fulfilling prophecy. It says, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So right there, so it took like 2 years. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, Ramah was the voice heard, lamentation, weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they were not. So they killed all male child, same thing as they did to in the time of Moses. All right. So this is what that particular scripture was speaking of. Back in Revelations 12. It says 12:4 again. And his tail, talking about the dragon, the Roman Empire, drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, and was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto the Most High, into his throne. So that was that part right there is a time and period of when the Lord was born and he fulfilled his life. And then when his time, he was crucified and he went up to the heavens. All right. So that proved that that dragon was the Roman Empire. It says on Revelations 13, and I stood up, stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast raise up out of the sea. So the beasts represent who? Esau, Edom. All right. Well, the other nations, Esau, Edom, but it's talking about the Roman Empire. But it's going to give you the rulership of all Esau right here. And it says, out of the sea having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon the horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which I'm gonna do another show on that, which we already know. That's talking about this guy, Alexander the Great, all right, whose symbol was also a beast, but his symbol was the leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, which the bear represents Russia, which is the end of him, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, that would be the British Empire, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So that's the same dragon, all right? The same dragon, but the dragon, I believe in Revelations 20, when it's speaking of Satan, which in his Revelations, back in Revelations 12, I forget. No, was it 12? Thinking on? Yeah, 12 and 7, I believe. 12 and 9. And a great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil, Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So Esau, the old serpent that went back into the garden, that same spirit, all right, that same filthy spirit that lied to Eve and so forth, that's what is meant by that old serpent. And once again, that dragon. So Esau has a infatuation with the dragon for a reason, because that's in his spirit. He knows that he's a serpent. That's why when you look at the inside the UN, let me see if I can find it. I know I have it. I don't want to. Let me see if it's in here. Okay. Not this one. This is a good Merriam. No. Let me see if they have it. They're supposed to have. They're not gonna show it. There it is. Is it this one? No. There's another. I think it's this one. That doesn't really matter. But when you look inside the UN, one of these places, when they have their business, it looks like a serpent, because Esau know that he's a serpent. They even have another Freemason lodge, which is called Leviathan as well. So he knows for a fact in his spirit that he's a serpent. All right. He knows it for a fact that he is a serpent. It says, that great dragon was cast out, which is the Roman Empire, which the new form of the Roman Empire, because this is a future prophecy. The new form of the Roman Empire is NATO, EU, and America. after the Treaty of Rome, the brother Amno had brought it out, how they said that they felt like Romans that day. Okay? Because under the Roman Empire, once again, let's go back into that. Let me see if oh damn. Once you look at that map, what the fuck? Yeah, there it is. What do you see? Everybody in the known world at that time, the known world, all languages, all peoples, all tongues, all right, was under this one particular empire. So this was their form of New World Order. And then when you get into their what they was doing in there, because that show was pretty damn good, and it shows you from bestiality, homosexuality, pedophilia was heavy in the Roman Empire. That was nothing. There's a scene, matter of fact, I'll do that for another show, the scene I'm thinking of. But it shows you this empire, this is what the West today resembles again, all right, with America. So you got Roman numerals everywhere. The law is in Latin, okay? The medical field, Latin and Greek. So it's the same thing over and over again. It says that great dragon was cast out. So Michael and the angels are going to tear this man another one, and that's a future prophecy. All right? That old serpent, so that serpent, that spirit that went back into the garden, called the devil. Devil means Diablo, which means slanderer, deceiver, and Satan, which is the adversary, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels, which is going to be his armies, which he's going to fall from the grace that the power that he sits on. All right. And his angels were cast out with him. So when Yahushua returns, and Michael and his angels, his army against Esau and his angels, the Lord is going to destroy Esau and his power. Okay? And that will be the end of this serpent. Because when you read Daniel's the second chapter, it tells you about the stone that was cut out with our hands. And there's pictures that depicted that the stone hits the feet, which the feet represents NATO EU, the last state of the Roman Empire, meaning the whole entire statue will fall apart, because all these nations follow the trends of the former nations. All right, and then their legacy moved on. That's why you have Juno, Venus, Jupiter. Jupiter is the equivalent of Zeus. Zeus is the equivalent of Merodach, Osiris. What's this guy? Nimrod. All right, Bel, Molech, all the same gods, but recycled. So when the Lord comes back, he's going to wipe all that history from that. All of it is going to be done and over with when this man goes down. But I kind of went against what I was trying to say. But yeah, one of the main symbols of Esau's kingdom is the dragon. And this is why John saw the dragon and his vision. All right, because that I want to show, that was the Roman, like a banner for the Roman. All right, and the calves. So everything that the scriptures here showing that it's another form of the scriptures coming to life. That being said, I hope you brothers edify. Shalom to the elect. of the nations. And shalom.